Hey, what's up YouTube? So today is going to be part 3 of the Acura Integra dc2 k20 bar video, and I'm going to show you guys now what we need to do to drop this engine. So the easiest thing to start with is a 10mm. There's so many of that, you can almost take this whole car apart with a 10mm and some pliers. But first thing is first, we're going to go ahead and take this cover off right here so we can get to the throttle cable. Disconnect these 10s right here. That's all around here for the throttle cable itself. It's really easy. Like I said, you can get to those. But first is really you want to take off the battery, so it's not really connected as much. I just had it on there. That's always the number one, so you don't get electrical shock. But start with that. Get to the 10. So we'll start with just the throttle cable itself, and then any 10 that you can really see that we're gonna need to take off. So like anything for the support, like this for the AC line, you can just easily start taking them off. There's a ground that's a 10mm right here. You can take that off just to kind of get in here. And the next thing we'll do is airbox, which is the 10s right here, 10 right there, and then pop this off right here. There's a 10mm under that. There's a Phillips right here for the airbox. So right now we're just gonna go ahead and just start with that. Get the simple things, just to open up the engine bay to reach into other things. And we'll come back right now and then show you what else we need to do. All right, so now we got our top cover off, which is just two 10mm bolts. We got our throttle cable off, which is right here, just two 10mm. And then you just kind of wrap the throttle cable around for this one, and then you push down to get the second one out right here, and just pulls it right there. Airbox is out, and now we are ready to go to the next thing. So I also did the ground right here, just quick 10. So next what we're gonna do is our shift linkage, which is three 12mm bolts, and then you got some cotter pins right here and right here. I like to use some wire cutters. They're just really easier to take these out. Also, we'll be disconnecting a 10mm right here, and then we have two 12mm bolts for the slave cylinder, and we also have one 10mm ground right here as well. So I'll be taking that off, and I will also be taking off, since this is a 12 also, since we're not going to be using power steering, two 12mm bolts right here, and the second one's right here. We'll pop that off. And then one more thing, I guess, since kind of get things going, let's pop this cover off. There's two 8mm bolts right here, and we're gonna take that off for the engine harness. So we can start separating that as well. So gotta go ahead and do shift linkage, disconnect this from the harness, the starter and charge harness, and then the slave cylinder and ground, and then we'll come back and see what else is next. All right, so now that we're back, I got the shift linkage completely off. 312s, some cotter pins, really easy, guys. I took off the slave cylinder, which is 212s, very simple, and then the little bracket that holds it with the hard line, just a 10mm. We went and took off the two 8mm for the engine harness and charge starter. So real simple, that's going to be ready to pull out when the engine comes. And then we did our power steering, also two 12mm bolts, real simple. And I also did that. There's a 10mm right here for the power steering bracket as well. The next thing we will be doing is probably taking this battery tray out. There's a two 12mm bolts on top, and then two on the underside. And then that'll be it for that. And also, we can start doing the three major things that that kind of hold the engine in place, which is your brake booster, your evap line, and your fuel. So this one and this one you can actually just cut, it doesn't really matter. The brake booster, you might want to hold on and just use it as the stock one. It'll work actually, and the Integra. and it has the little pressure line in here, so you don't have to run the valve off of the stock one. I'll show you that later on, maybe in the next videos or whatever. So we're gonna knock that out, and then we can start finishing up the harness. So I kind of did one already just to kind of show you, but when they're on here, you just lift up and you want to wiggle out, since they've been on here for a while, since this car is kind of factory, so I don't think it's ever been taken apart. And then you have this right here. See if I can get my hand in there. You want to take this plastic cover off, and it'll expose this little white plastic piece right there. And so what you want to do in order for, see if I can focus in a little more. There's a little clip right here. You just push this clip in, and you kind of pull out at the same time. So you kind of go clockwise or counterclockwise, either way. And there's like 4 of them, and that's how you bring this whole tab out. Let's see if I can grab it. It's right there. So it basically starts coming. That's all you gotta do to get that out, and then you can go to the inside. Where I kind of already did these since I had the Honda running on here, but also on these plugs, they literally just press in and you pull out. So you have these 3. This one actually is to the car harness, and then you have the C101. So this plug and these 2 will come out through the firewall, and then that'll be it as far as getting the engine harness completely out when the motor comes out. So we got that. This is our ECU. Real simple to take out. It's just 3 12s. There's one right here, one on the back side, or one on this side, and then one on the back side under. It's directly in the center. You can probably feel for it, but it's literally directly there. If you forget that one, it will break the aluminum off the ECU, so be careful with that. We're gonna go ahead and knock those things out, and then we'll come back. All right, so now we got our ECU out. You can see 3 10mm bolts that I took it out. Really simple. 4 12mm bolts for the battery tray. I ran my harness through, as you can see, and to kind of give you a little more detail, these are the clips that I'm telling you about, that you just kind of go around and they'll come apart. Just make sure when you're pulling out this that it might get tucked in there with like the air box, or not the air box, but the condenser box and everything. So just be careful pulling these out. If it feels like it's not coming out, just kind of reorganize them under the firewall, and it should come out pretty easy. Went ahead and did the brake booster, and I just cut the fuel and evap. So that's real simple. You can take them off if you want, but I won't be reusing this car. Usually if you're doing a swap, you want to make sure those are good, so take them off the right way, but doesn't matter. This car's going to be junk after everything's taken out that we need. All right, so next is probably this bumper. They're just a flat head, some clips. Obviously the tabs on the sides are broken. I don't know. Yeah, the underside's probably good to come out as well, because there's usually some 10s under there. If you have a stock car, yeah, there will be some 10mm under there, so check that out. Yeah, once we get this T-bar out the way, which is, there's a 10mm holding this down, but since it might be broken off, we'll see if it's down there, but there's a 10mm holding the bracket down to get this off. So once we get the bumper cover off, there's some 10mm under here, I believe, for the bracket, so we'll get to that. And then we can actually probably, after we get to the radiator and everything, start going for the suspension and everything. I believe everything on top is almost done besides this AC line. So I'll just use like a crescent wrench to take that off. Other than that, that should almost get us down to suspension. So I'm gonna take this bumper off, get this T-bar off as well, and then start taking off the rest of the radiator hoses, I believe. So I guess we'll just attack all that. So we're gonna take this hose off, the 2 heater hoses back here, if you can see them, and then the bottom radiator hose as well down there. and we're gonna go ahead and take off the AC. So the AC also has two 10mm bolts down there as well that I'll show you. I'll show you guys everything after I take it apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out right now, and then we'll come back. All right, so now that we're back, I can show you everything that we did. So once you take the bumper cover off with all the little tabs, you got a 10 right here for the T-bracket. You got two 10s right here, and then you have a 10 dead center for the T-bracket. And then you have two 10s for the AC pump. And I bring you around to the condenser since it was all kind of crashed and everything. So there's going to be a 10 right here. There's going to be a 10 on the other side. And then a 10 that goes to the hose from the AC pump. And then also what you're going to need to disconnect is the fans. So you got one right here, and then you got the other one at the bottom. And then there's also going to be this sensor right here that you're going to have to disconnect. And then the AC plug connects to right here. So you want to make sure that you take that off. Got the bottom disconnected with just some pliers, and the top as well. So that's basically all you need to do to take off everything in the front as far as that. So that's done. I believe now we can start going towards the suspension because everything on top is pretty much done. There's nothing really else to disconnect that I can think of. Got the hoses in the rear done as well. So yeah, it's gonna go ahead and start on suspension. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack the car up and start taking this wheel off. There's a 36mm for the axle. The rest I believe are 17s. So we're gonna go ahead and get to suspension, and we'll come back and show you what we did after we're done with that. All right, so now we're on suspension, and start with the axle nut. It's a 36mm, and then we have a 19 right here, and a 19 up here with a 21. We might not have to take this off. I usually just take off the axle nut and this one, and then hammer it right here. Or sorry, right here is where you want to hammer it at to bust the ball joint open. And then that should give you access to the half shaft. So we get under here. So what we're gonna do is the half shaft has a cover. They're 12mm bolts. There's about 3 of them. One over here, and I believe 2 up here. And then we'll be able to take out the axle with the half shaft together, and then I'll just hammer off the axle off the half shaft since we won't be using these axles. We need 32mm. Also gotta do the exhaust. 2 12mm bolts right there. That way we can just pull it out, and then I'll pull the exhaust out completely. And then take the cat off because we have to re-weld that onto the new exhaust, the B pipe from the Integra, and then the new TSX header. So right now also, since I'm ripping it out from the top, there's 3 14s right here for the rear bolt or rear mount that I'm gonna take those out as well. So when I pull it up top, it'll just come with the actual full T-bracket and mount. Other than that, that should be it for suspension wires, or axles to take the motor out. I'm gonna go ahead and knock these out real fast, and then we'll come back and see what we need to do next. All right, so my suspension's all taken apart. Axle and half shaft is all out. Disconnected the exhaust, and I believe now we are ready to rip the motor out. Besides the motor mounts, so what I need to do is take out this mount, take out the front mount, 17mm. And this one's kind of ripped out, so I'll probably just take this one off. Or actually I'll be wrapping the chain around this to lift it up since I lifted it out of here. That's basically it, guys. I'm gonna lift this out, pull it out, and I guess that'll sort of complete this video for now. The next video is gonna be about the smog equipment, the fuel tank, and I'll show you the drop tank on the Integra as well, do some prep work and stuff. Finish taking out the dash and the wiring harness out of this car. But yeah, so let me go ahead and get the cherry picker, pull it out, and that should be it. Alright, so the motor is completely out and dropped out of the RSX. So like I said, next video we'll be taking all the other stuff that we need for the actual bar and everything, and show you exactly what we're going to be using. And like I said, taking out the dash, taking out the fuel tank actually, and just getting everything that we're not going to need off of this car ready. So after that we can go start on the actual Integra. If you want to see the Integra build from the beginning, check out Lucifer DC2 on Instagram, or Lucifer Morningstar Photography on YouTube as well. Go ahead and hit them with sub and subscribe to that, and stay tuned guys. Got a lot more content coming, and if you want to hit me up on K Serious Works on Instagram as well, you can hit me up. Other than that, guys, see you guys later.